Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Wednesday, June 25th. And folks, we have hit all-time highs on the world's most valuable company, the company that is about $10 away, less than that, from achieving the first $4 trillion market cap in history. Folks, Nvidia, 153. We got to 154.45 actually. Right now it's at 153. We'll see if we get the 154 close. Probably going to get hopefully above 153.50. But absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Up 4% on the day. Congrats to anyone who has Nvidia. They let us buy this thing below 100 because of DeepSeek. And if you went down with the ship back in January, the ship is now above waters. Absolutely incredible. So Nvidia, big news on the day. Loop Capital raised their price target to 250 this morning. And I think that's kind of really what inspired the street to start thinking a little bit more about what are the growth potentials of Nvidia. The one thing that has been the tailwind or the headwind for Nvidia has been China. But now that we could get a trade deal with China theoretically, and that could maybe bring Nvidia back. But B, Nvidia is basically telling investors, we don't even worry about China. We're going to grow. If you get more China revenue, that's a cherry on top. But look at our earnings outside of China. And even that is enough for the street to conservatively say, hey, maybe Nvidia right here is undervalued. On top of that, we got Micron earnings today. This is going to be a big one. Micron 126.95 selling off a little bit before going into earnings. It is up 40% year to date. This is going to be a very important one to kind of see how this one plays out. Semiconductor momentum has been very strong across Broadcom, TSM, Broadcom now at 1.25 trillion. Nvidia, AMD, obviously great day. AMD right here, 143. Looks like it's going to get a 140 close. Micron's going to be important because over the past couple weeks, especially at GTC Paris, Jensen spoke very highly of them. They won certain contracts above Samsung. So now they've just got to put up the results. I mean, realistically, the stock doesn't need to pump. If it does pump, that'd be awesome. By the way, let's do a pump and dump poll in the chat on Micron. Let me know in the chat if you own this stock. But even if it doesn't pump, holding on to its momentum is important. What we don't want to see is a dump. We don't want to see a dump because that would just kind of not derail the semiconductor momentum, but it would be annoying if one of the players inside of the semiconductor ecosystem did get a dump on earnings, especially if the earnings themselves missed. If it dumps because the earnings are good, but Wall Street is whatever, then that's fine. But earnings should be good. And if it is, then we should get some momentum right here. So we will be getting into Micron earnings. I'm going to have a new guest on the show at around 4:30. Some of you guys know him off Twitter. Some of you guys don't. His name is Josh. He was on one of the first Robinhood weekly episodes with Tanner, Roy, and I back in, I think, October of last year. Not October, March of this year. And he has been bullish on Robinhood since about $15. He's been great putting out DD on Twitter. So he's going to join in about 30, 40 minutes, and we'll get his take on what's going on with Robinhood. Speaking of Robinhood, I forgot we had an annual shareholder meeting today. So I watched it and I collected my notes, but I did not stream it. I'm sorry for that. However, we got some really bullish things from Mr. Vlad Tenev. 1.5 billion prediction contracts have traded since launch. Retirement on Robinhood now is 18 billion in assets. Robinhood Strategies, their advisory product, now has 100,000 users and 350 million under management. This product launched at the end of April. And they're on track to have 300,000 gold credit card users by mid-year. They had 200,000 by the end of Q1. Mid-year is basically in a couple days. So it makes sense now. Last week, we saw a lot of people get their credit cards. A lot of you guys in the chat got your credit cards. So it looks like they gave out 100,000 credit cards all throughout the past couple weeks. And that's why we're getting some momentum on Robinhood. Stock itself was not able to hold 85. We did hit all-time highs today, 82.49. Still not bad. I encourage everyone to watch the shareholder meeting. It's on their X or their YouTube. It's 25 minutes, and Vlad kind of just lays out the thesis on why they feel they have a massive opportunity and overall give some updates on the business. The Bitcoin giveaway they're doing, or the crypto asset match, yesterday they introduced it. They got $1 million of crypto transfers in 1 hour. As of 24 hours later, folks, they are at 14 million out of the 500 million. That is the match incentive to get 2% on the match as well. So including our good friend Steve, who is now official Robinhood user, and he's now a gold subscriber. So I don't know if this levels off. I don't know if this gets exponential. I don't know if everyone who was going to deposit already deposited, and now it gets really slow in terms of the amount of crypto matches that come in or ACATS transfers that come in. But nonetheless, 14 million out of 500 million in the first day is not bad. And they got another 2 weeks to maybe get that overall 500 million. So that's what we got in the context of Robinhood and Nvidia. We will have Micron earnings after the bell. We do have some updates in regards to what Trump has said, and we have some updates around crypto. Did Trump just tweet he did tweet. He said, basically, to sum it up, his tweet is that New York City is screwed because of Mamdani. He calls him a future communist. He says he's AOC endorsed, yada, yada. So, he said he's 100% communist lunatic is the exact wording. So that's, and then he's blaming Chuck Schumer and all this stuff. So yeah, he's mad about New York, but nonetheless, that's what we got going on. Okay, so let's talk about how when you drink your liquor, you're not supposed to chase. In college, I didn't know how to drink liquor, which is why I was chasing. I would drink like a Coke or juice with my liquor. And I realized at some level that you got to be able to drink the liquor straight up. The reason for that is because if you don't, you're going to become a chaser, and you might end up buying Surf Air Mobility at $5 a share. They will do a direct offering, which is dilution, and then those shares will fall down 30%. The one thing I'll say is that we've been talking about this on the show for the past couple of weeks now. These high flyers that are getting a bid, sometimes there's no reason for them to get a bid other than the fact that people are bored and they're bidding something up. And the CEOs and management boards of these companies, they know that. They know their stocks are ridiculously overvalued because there's nothing fundamental there. Now, maybe there's something fundamental in the future in terms of a story, but that doesn't mean they're not going to take advantage of that from a dilution perspective. So if you bought the top of Surf Air Mobility, which a bunch of people I saw on Twitter over the past 48 hours were going crazy about because it was gapping up 250%, like, it only made sense if you got out at the top. If you bought into that strength and you didn't get out, you got wrecked. It's just that simple. You got freaking wrecked. And so it did, like, some things you will chase and it will be amazing because you will have incredible timing. I tried doing that. I never ended up being lucky enough to even get one of these things right. Maybe other people have better luck than me, but most people are going to be in the camp where they chase at the wrong time because it's very hard to time these things. You have no idea how it plays out. And then boom, you get diluted. Now, maybe Surf Air Mobility comes back. Maybe this 31% is not that big of a deal. But the point is, a lot of people bought in the morning, and that one is getting hit right now. Now, ASTS, which is a little bit more of a legit company in terms of the products and services they have, they also did dilution today. That one's down 7%. I don't think anyone could be that upset because it was $25 2 months ago, or not even 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago. 49.71, that's down from 53. I think that dilution actually does make sense. Legit company, they need more funds. Shares are probably expensively valued. The CEO management board is realizing this is an opportunity to raise capital. However, it is dilution. And so if you bought at 53, 54, that stock is also currently down right now. So it's just important, bro. If you're going to engage in speculation in this market, this is what they mean by no crying in the casino. No crying in the casino is if you're going to go into the casino and buy Surf Air Mobility for whatever reason, because the chart is going up, you can't cry when the chart goes down, because management is not wrong for doing this. I mean, they're raising money like they should. They have a fiduciary duty to make sure the business is stable. And if they have the ability to dilute, they'll take advantage of it. It's at the behest sometimes of retail that gets speculative. Tesla right here getting a little bit more of a bid. This one's down 4% on the day. It was almost below 320 at one point, getting a little bit of a recovery, so not too bad on Tesla. And then Nvidia right here, back to 154. Back to 154 with Nvidia. Shout out to Jose in the chat. There he is. Jose has been, from my understanding, like one of the only people on YouTube who has covered this stock every single day consistently. So I know his portfolio is probably thanking him today, and he's probably enjoying it. Nvidia right here, 154. Where's Circle? I didn't look at that in the past couple hours. Circle below 200, down 10%. It's not that crazy to see that happen, but you got Circle right here from 300 to 200 basically in the past day. Okay, cool. So that's what we got. 5 minutes until the market closes. We got a bunch of other headlines that we'll get into. Again, Micron earnings, that's a big one. SMCI, great day, 8.5%. That's getting some love. PayPal right here, 73. SoFi, are we still over 16? SoFi, still over 16. SoFi introduced, or they said they're going to introduce crypto and cross-border payments likely by the end of the year. So the market is a bit excited for that in terms of what that could do for their overall business. Google right here, 170, grab. Ugly day, down 3.2%. Cannot hold that 470 level. That's why it's getting hit right here. 450 is support. We're going to see if 450 continues to be support. But grab right there is down. Reddit was up 8% of the day, right back down to 141. So a lot of these stocks that have momentum in the market open, they got hit down. Microsoft kept some of its momentum. All-time highs right here. Did get a bunch of price target raises to the 550s and even to the 600 at Wedbush. But Microsoft right here at 491. Nvidia really is the story of the day. AMD also great, but Nvidia right here, the largest company in the world, $3.79 trillion at $162. This stock is a $4 trillion company, which is not far away, right? like 162 after a good earnings, S&P all-time highs. You think, I mean, that seems kind of likely to play out. So if that does happen, then we're going to be looking at Nvidia as the world's first $4 trillion company. These stocks hit 52-week times or 52-week highs today. Nvidia, Microsoft, Netflix, Broadcom, Coinbase, Hood, CrowdStrike, JP Morgan, Palantir, Oracle, IBM, Spotify, Cloudflare, Rocket Lab, Celestica, GE Veranova, Helmet, and the NASDAQ. So you had a lot of high flyers today that did hit 52-week highs. I think the broader argument right here is sustaining a lot of this momentum, and that's going to come primarily through earnings growth, which we're going to get into earnings season in a couple of weeks. And, then the market will be able to kind of see how this plays out. BMO, one of the more bullish Wall Street firms, they re-raised their price target to 6,700. They went down to 5,700 in the beginning of the year. They had 6,700. Then Trump had the Liberation Day stuff, went down to, I think, maybe from 54 to 5,500. Now they're back to 6,700. So you do have some of the Wall Street banks encouraging their clients to say, hey, no, it's a bull market. We're here. It's time. We've moved on from everything that happened in the past, and earnings growth is strong enough to be justifying some of this multiple expansion. 154 on Nvidia. HIMS. So this stock has not been able to catch a bid, down about 3.5%. I am still, so there's this one guy who I think bought HIMS at like, I don't know, $7, and he sold it at 40. And I don't want to say he turned into a bear, but he kind of, he's on Twitter, he kind of like turned more bearish about the company. And one of his biggest arguments was the Novo partnership could dissolve. It ended up happening. And so he put out a post today, not even like a bragging post, just a post saying, hey, these were the risks and people need to like be aware of them. And the amount of hate that this guy got under his comments, I mean, it was almost like Tesla cult level hate. So I think the HIMS community right now is very fractured and divided. You got some people feeling that this is the greatest company in the world and that they can't understand the bear case right here, even after the Novo partnership. And you got other people saying, are you stupid? The Novo partnership is the absolute thesis breaker that destroys any value people thought this stock could have in the future. I'm not in the camp of the latter, but I do understand why people are upset. And my point is just emotions are high. Emotions are very, very high in the context of HIMS. Yes, I'm still long. I will let you guys know if I sell. I have no intention to sell. It's annoying that I'm down 20% on these shares, but it is what it is. Like, this is what happens. Ultimately, I didn't buy it because of Novo. I didn't buy it because of GLP-1. I bought it because I thought it was cheap. And I thought ultimately they would get operating leverage as their operating margins go up, which, by the way, their operating margins went from like negative 15% to 6.7%. That's going to compound. Free cash flow is going to compound. Growth is going to compound. And ultimately, I think their brand loyalty is strong. And I understand what the long-term thesis could be. This Novo stuff, I am not that educated about it. I quite frankly didn't care that much about it. So is it annoying? Sure. But I personally don't think it's a thesis breaker. I just and maybe it's a naive assumption from someone who's not that ingratiated into the stock, but still, I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world. Now, granted, I don't think it's coming back to 160 anytime soon, but I'm not going to sell because then, allocating the capital somewhere else to me is not the smartest thing at these levels. So I'm not selling here, but I also understand why people are not buying. But obviously the community is pretty torn on this. And, you're getting a lot of people that are definitely upset at seeing some of the more bear cases that are presented. All right, here we go. We got about 15 seconds until the market closes, folks. I think we're getting an all-time high close on Nvidia. Is it happening? I think it is happening. Here we go. Wednesday, June 25th. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Nvidia is the most valuable company on the planet as the stock market is now closed. Dude, she got a 154.30 close. Look at those candles going into the close. Look at that. Look at that. Just incredible. Absolutely incredible right here to see Nvidia get that love. And I mean, a bunch of things happened over the past 48 hours in regards to sentiment on semiconductors, but really the price trigger from Loop Capital today completely turned investors into thinking, hey, maybe Nvidia really is going to be a lot bigger than what people think. And it was a street high target at 250. Everyone else had it at around 170, 190. There's the picture right there. So Nvidia's price, average Wall Street target around that 170, 180. And then boom, there's Loop Capital saying, hey, this thing's going to 250. So definitely getting some momentum right there. All right, Micron is up. I believe their earnings comes out relatively soon. Might take a couple of minutes, but this is the big one. What did you guys say? 65% of you said pump. 65% of you said pump. All right, here it is. We should be getting it very soon. And then we'll see What we get for Micron? Reddit right here, 141. BlackBerry, great day, up 12.5% after earnings. Robinhood ended at 82.75. Hims down about 3.5%. Circle down 10.7%. Coinbase up 3%. It was up almost 15% at one point. Ended up basically up 3%, so gave back 7% of the gains. Grab down about 3%. Apple up 0.632. JetBlue down about 1.4. Google 170, not a bad day. Palantir closes at 142.90, basically flat on the day. Nvidia again 154. CoreWeave, I did not see CoreWeave down 7.6%. Nebius also down 5%. They all move with each other. They all tend to move with each other. So that one or both of those down about 5%. Let me know in the chat what you bought, what you sold. If you wrote any covered calls, sold any puts, if you bought some Micron going into this. And then we will see what these earnings look like. All right, do we have Micron? Up, we're green. She's green, 6% green. Oh, you got, let's see. Look, a 6% candle usually means it's going to hold 1 or 2%. You can't judge too much unless this reverses, which it doesn't look like. I know it's only been a minute, but let's see. It could reverse, but if it holds, 5% is relatively healthy. For some reason, the pump or dump poll is now going higher on pump. Somehow, every time the stock goes up when the earnings come out, the pump votes just start pumping higher. Up 4.7%, 133.99. Don't have the results yet. We should be getting it in a second. Let's see. I got people saying we bought some more lemonade today. I will have the lemonade deep dive tomorrow at around 10:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about that. Bought SPY calls. Hey, I don't hate it. SPY looks like it really wants all-time highs. All right, so I think we have the numbers. Let me pull this up. Looks like a pretty big EPS beat. Let's see. Oh, wow. That's a big beat. 19% on EPS. Oh, you really want to see that. Now it's moving. There you go. Almost 7% on the day. 191 versus 161 EPS. EPS is up 208% year over year. Not only do they smash earnings on the expectations, but that year-over-year number is fantastic. Revenue beat by 5%, 9.3 billion versus 8.8 billion. Revenue is up 37% year-over-year. EPS is up 22% quarter-over-quarter. Revenue is up 15% quarter-over-quarter. These are astonishing numbers and beats, at least at the opening. We got to see guidance up 6.7. Is Nvidia moving after this? I would imagine it is. Nvidia. Oh, Nvidia's moving. She wants 155. She wants 155, 154.90. It got to 154.99. Oh, shout out to Micron. Shout out to freaking Micron. We're going to see their guidance in a second, but whatever they're saying is definitely getting the street excited right here. Actual numbers in a second. Micron right here, up 8%. AMD should be getting, let's just go to all the semis. All the semis. Okay, after hours, Dell's flat, Lam Research flat, ARM's flat, Marvell, that's up 0.5%. TSM up a little bit, Qualcomm up a little bit, Broadcom up another 1/3% after a great run this week. So Broadcom liking it as well. SMCI up 1%. AMD is up 1%, 144.50. Nvidia up 0.34. And then Micron 7.2, 136 on Micron. Dude, not bad. Fund managers chasing. Yeah. I mean, if you haven't bought any semis this year and you feel like you're underweight, you know, they might have bought it all going into these earnings to try to get some more exposure. They might be buying it right now, but this is nice to see. Micron right here. It's not stopping either. It's not stopping at 7%. Looks like we might have a shot to get to 8%. Here's the coverage right here. Let me pull this up. And then I will try to get the exact numbers from their shareholder deck as well.
Christina. Hi, Morgan. $1.91 adjusted for earnings per share, which is higher than what the street anticipated, of 31 cents higher on revenues of $9.3 billion. Those estimates are also higher than buy side. So that's why you're seeing the stock spike 7%. Same thing for Q4 guidance coming in also stronger. $2.50. The street was anticipating $2.01. So big beat there on.
Whoa. Street expecting 201 versus 250. That is definitely a big beat. Revenue looks like about 300 million more in guidance. So even Q2 guidance looks like that's what the street wanted. And gross margins seem to be beating street expectations. So if you got Micron today, they are hitting on pretty much every cylinder currently right now.
Q4 revenue guidance of 10.7 billion. The same thing for both Q3 and Q4 non-GAAP gross margins, both coming in higher than what the street anticipated. There is a good quote in this press release right now coming from the CEO saying that they had all-time high DRAM revenue, including nearly 50% sequential growth in high bandwidth memory. So that's used for a lot of AI infrastructure. Data center revenue more than doubled year over year and reached a quarterly record, and consumer-oriented end markets that would include PCs and smartphones also had strong sequential growth. So this is a great barometer for the chip sector. Shares are up 7%. Morgan?
All right, Christina.
Nvidia, I think, touched 155. I think she touched it. Like yeah, it was for a second. Yeah, I see 155. I see it's at one. You can see it right there, 5 cents away. I mean, if we get a 155 open tomorrow, that would be pretty nice to see. It's just there, 154.99. But there you go. Congrats to the Micron longs. Congrats. Put in the chat if you have shares, your average when you bought in. Congrats. Major beat on Micron. I mean, this one's a good one. Raising guidance by that level is not something you see often. Let me see the company. All right, here we go. So let's go a little bit deeper in the numbers and see exactly what the company said. But I mean, dude, this is a hell of a quarter. So here we go. Revenue, 9.3 billion. GAAP net income, 2 billion. Non-GAAP, 202.18. Operating cash flow, 4.61. CEO says Micron delivered record revenue in fiscal Q3 driven by all-time high DRAM revenue, including nearly 50% sequential growth in HBM revenue. Data center revenue more than doubled year over year. That's because of Nvidia, and reached a quarterly record in consumer-oriented end markets at strong sequential growth. We are on track to deliver record revenue with solid profitability and free cash flow in fiscal 2025 while we make disciplined investments to build on our technology leadership and manufacturing excellence to satisfy growing AI-driven memory demand. Revenue, again, 10.7 billion they're projecting next quarter. Gross margins, 41%. OpEx, 1.3. EPS around 229. And that's what you got from Micron. Not bad. This is what you needed to see. This is what you needed to see for Micron. I see a lot of you guys sub averages of 100. June right here, 240 at 69. That's great. Someone has MU at 82. Bought MU at 98 just a few weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, if you look at this chart, dude, this thing was down for the majority of basically January, February, and then it really started getting a peak. So there you go. Yeah, look at that. 94, May 30th, 135 after hours. This was one of the semis that really hadn't made a move this year, along with AMD. Both of them kind of went up over the past month. It's not too bad. We got 20 call contract strike 120, 78, 81, 64, 91, 117. Looks not bad. It's not bad at all. Micron right here, still moving 134 after hours and continuing to get a little bit of a bid. So now the question is, what does this do for the semis? What does this do for the semis? Because it kind of feels like semiconductors have come back in style from an investment perspective. SMH, SOXL, a lot of bull cases that are being printed on these names. The question is, can they keep up the momentum, and can all of them in Q2 put up the earnings growth? And again, I think the reason Loop Capital put out their Nvidia 250 target is because they just think the growth is not stopping. There was a stat, I mean, I showed you guys the stat yesterday, but ChatGPT got 30 million downloads last month. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter combined got 30 million downloads. Obviously, there's a sentiment shift in terms of the amount of people that want access to AI products, which means there's more usage of those products, which means there's a more necessity for NVIDIA chips, for Micron memory, etc. And it doesn't look like that's slowing anytime soon. Jeff Meets World is up 600% on Micron options. I love it. By the way, Jeff, your name reminds me of Boy Meets World. That you guys didn't know I knew that show, right? You guys didn't. I know that show. I used to watch Boy Meets World. That was Topanga. Come on, bro. Topanga, one of the most beautiful women on the planet. Like, that was the show. I think some of you should be impressed that I know that show. I used to watch that show. I think I was too young to be watching that show. I think I was like 10 years old and it was like on Nickelodeon or something, Nick at Night. But still, I love that show. That was a good one. Then they tried to make Girl Meets World and it just didn't work out. They tried to do the sequel. It didn't play out. But there you go. Micron cooling off a little bit, up 5.6%, not up 7% anymore. Earnings call either is going to be good or bad for them, and that'll kind of decide if this stock can hold on to its momentum. But Nvidia right here after hours, 154.83, Micron 134.77 currently right now. Okay, that time I didn't mean to say currently right now. The time before I played the CNBC clip, I definitely meant it. But that time I legit caught myself saying currently right now. You guys will know when I'm saying it intentionally or when I'm not. It'll be very obvious. Like I feel like it'll be obvious. All right, what else do we have? So Nike is tomorrow, and we're gonna have to see how Nike ultimately performs. We had Carnival yesterday, that was great. FedEx was not bad. Oh, we have Jefferies today after the bell as well. Where's Jefferies? This is an investment firm, GJEF. That one's flat after hours. Probably not a big expected move. But Jeffron right here. Did I just say Jeffron, bro? Goodness gracious. Jefferies is chilling flat as Micron is up about 6%. We do have Mr. Dan Ives, who is live and is advocating that investors are still underestimating this AI rally. In particular, Microsoft is his name. Let's hear what he has to say, and then we'll keep going from there.
You know, what I really view is some of their bigger customers out there in terms of, and what we're really focused on, Scott, is trying to understand the trajectory of the AI stack, commercial cloud. I believe right now, I mean, this is trending anywhere from 5 to 7% ahead of expectations. And I think the most important thing is this could be an incremental 25 billion that the street's not factoring into next year's number. That's why I believe not just 4 trillion, potentially we could be looking at a $5 trillion market cap in the next 18 months.
I mean, okay, the stock's at 491 and a half, so I can see how 515 might have felt a little in question that the stock was going to blow past there. 600 doesn't feel too lofty in the kind of environment we're in. I mean, how much has to go right for that to happen?
I think 600 is probably conservative. And I'm thinking about the next 18 months. I mean, in terms of the next year, I think this is one I could definitely see that numbers are going to come up significantly in terms of.
Dan Ives thinks 600 on Microsoft is conservative. You guys agree? Is that conservative? I mean, are we looking at Microsoft well above 600, or is that way too aggressive, or is that fair for Microsoft over the next 18 months?
All of our checks. But the most important thing in terms of cloud, in terms of AI adoption, we believe for every $100 that a Microsoft customer spent, there's an incremental now $50 of AI spend on the table. So essentially what you're almost creating another sort of mini Microsoft within Redmond. And I think no one understands what's happening better than, of course, Jensen from Nvidia. But if you look what Nadella is doing, Nadella understands on the cloud side better than any of the competitors.
You say that you view Microsoft as, quote, the clear front runner on the enterprise hyperscale AI front. I mean, AWS, Amazon, the people over there may have something to say about that, wouldn't they?
And look, we're bullish on Amazon, obviously bullish on Google as well. I believe that they're narrowing the gap. But when it comes to core enterprise, comes to core stack, Microsoft, I mean, they're playing another game relative to AI. I think, and what's essentially happening now is on the commercial cloud piece, the execution is continuing to increase. And that's why I think this is one, me and you have talked about it, over the years. It was really on the treadmill for a year, didn't do anything. I think what's happened now is we go into the software phase of AI. That's where Nadella and Redmond, they are playing chess and others are playing checkers.
Yeah, but okay, so they're playing this game and they might have had the best looking team in the game with OpenAI. Microsoft and OpenAI together, formidable foe against anybody, right? Well, what happens if that team falls apart? What happens if there's a disgruntled teammate and the team gets broken up? Does your view change?
I view that at the time, I view it as more, those were training wheels in terms of AI for Microsoft. So my view of OpenAI relative to, if I go back to early 2023 is totally different. So this is not one where it's all relying on Altman, OpenAI, how the negotiation's going. When I look at the AI engineers, the software developers, the stack, and it comes down to these customers, it's in their backyard. And I still believe, as I always say, the haters, they can't say.
What do you mean the haters? Why do you always bring up the haters? How many haters are there? The stock speaks for itself. Who are the haters?
I think I could tell you institutionally on this name, even today, many institutional investors are saying, what more can go right here? The stocks, it's already had its run. And to my point there, I believe there's an incremental $100, $150 upside as they prove out this software phase of the AI revolution.
All right. His outlook is bright as his jacket. Dan Ives, thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Up next, we track the biggest movers as we head into the close. Christine.
All right, there you go. Dan Ives, bullish. I mean, look, the research they're doing on the enterprise spend from a software perspective on these licenses and pilots and different seats that Microsoft is ultimately selling. I think that is where his bull case comes in. Microsoft, again, hasn't really been a big mover from like a short-term perspective, but over the past couple of years, it has done very well. Microsoft is having one of its best years. Apple's having one of its worst years right now. 2024, Microsoft was basically flat. So it's kind of a little bit of a delayed reaction from this AI revolution on the company that owns 50% of AI. But it looks like it really does want to see that $500 level, $492.27 right now on Microsoft. Okay, so Nvidia right here, a little bit up after hours, 154.88, and then Micron still holding that 5% move. As we get into their earnings call, which we're not going to be listening to, but I think their earnings is at 4:30. So in about 15 minutes, we might be getting some reactions as they start earnings. If they start at 5 p.m., then we'll see how the stock moves when they have earnings. Here's some macro stats. Let's get into some macro. This, I thought today was pretty incredible. U.S. tech stocks posted $4.4 billion in net inflows last week, the most since June of 2024. I don't know, or we don't know yet if this is retail. We're going to get that research in about, usually it takes 2 weeks after the month is concluded to kind of figure out what was retail, what was institutional. But right now it looks like 4.4 billion of net inflows came in via tech stocks. Over the last 4 weeks, net inflows have averaged 1.5 billion a week. And this, we can say from Bank of America research, $3 billion of institutional net buying has happened last week since the record began in 2008, since they've been tracking it, which is one of the largest weeks also since 2008. So the problem with the month of May is that retail bought only $23 billion worth of stocks, which was on average similar to the $25 billion for the past couple months, but it was significantly below the $40 billion over the sequential 2 months that came before. And as a result, you just had $15 billion that really a buying pressure that wasn't there. Now you're starting to get some of that money come back into the markets. I think a majority of this is ultimately going to be institutional. We'll find out in the coming weeks how much was retail, how much was institutional. But the point is money's coming back. And part of the reason could be, there is money that is on the sidelines. That's $7 trillion in money market funds. We get the update tomorrow for money market funds. But as you can see, last week it increased by 8 billion to 7.02 trillion. Again, if you're a fund manager and you get paid to manage assets and the S&P is up 4% and your muni that you're in or your T-bill that you're in is only yielding 4%, you're really not giving your clients a risk-adjusted return. And as a result, you got to take a little bit of risk. And some of that risk might end up being in tech stocks. So 4.4 billion to come last week, which again was the largest week for NASDAQ tech stocks since June of 2024. It means sentiment's there. And by the way, this came last week. Last week was when the whole Israel-Iran crisis was happening. So it's kind of like the market was like, yeah, we can't. No, they bought the World War III dip aggressively, the most they bought in over a year. And they took advantage of 2, 3, 4% down on some of these tech names based on the geopolitical stuff that was going on. So that's what we got for tech stocks. Nvidia right here, 154, and Micron up still 5% after hours. Matthew, thank you for the $10 super chat. I know you got your family into Hood. My mom is fully against me to average up on my 47 average. Do we see a pullback? And if we do, what price would be good to buy? At this point, I don't know what the pullback looks like for Hood. If you go to the market open, I talked a lot about why I even bought more last night at 83. I think there's a string of catalysts. And I won't go through all of them again, but there's like 10 different things that are happening all at once. And based on the annual shareholder meeting that you can watch on their YouTube page today, there was just even more stuff that Vlad introduced that was just constantly going up and to the right. And it's just hard to deny that. So $40 would be, a 50% retracement. I don't think we see that. Could we go back to 70? Yeah, I think that's possible. Get a little bit of an August slump. Maybe market slows down a little bit. Tariff inflation maybe picks up. There's, a variety of black swan events, variety of macro things could happen, but it's just not the same risk reward that it was at 47. So when it comes to averaging up, my philosophy is simple. Do you want to hold for the long term? And do you have strategies to be able to mitigate your downside, like buying some puts to hedge or selling some covered calls to hedge? Or just saying, you know what, I don't care. I'm not going to look at the stock for the next 10 years. So if I buy it at 80 and it goes to 250, and like, who cares if I bought it at 40 or 80, right? Like at the end of the day, I just want more exposure. Those are the questions you have to ask yourself when it comes to, at least in my opinion, figuring out, is it appropriate to average up? Ben says, I think 50s to 70s is the next range for lows. Yeah. I mean, even going back to 50, you would need some pretty big macro headwinds, and I just don't see those yet. Nebius right here up 1.3%. Now, granted, it's running a lot, and we might have a great earnings, but earnings might still not be good enough based on how much is run, and you could get an earnings dip, just like it happened last time. So a lot of these things can happen. You have to have a clear thesis on the company versus the stock when it comes to averaging up. And, it's hard to do that, which is why it involves taking a bit of a risk. But if you are bullish long-term, I do think it will be a good investment over the long term. But short-term, anything can play out. SoFi right here up a little bit after hours as well. Accenture had a bad earnings report 2 weeks ago. This one got hit about 15%, 294. That's down another 2% on the day. Taiwan Semi up 1.2%. And then Rocket Lab, I think that fell with ASTS, but Rocket Lab right here, 32.35 on the day. Webull. So this is a name that's getting some traction on FinTwit. This was down 2.5%. A bunch of people were asking me about it yesterday. You had a lot of big TA technical analysis counts saying that, hey, this is the next one to run. I looked at their earnings. There's just nothing to be excited about. There really isn't. And if there was, I would love to buy it. Stock's $10. You could buy thousands of shares and, hopefully you can get a big move. But I just don't see a fundamental story here. And if you're trading it off TA, then that's fine. But I really don't see the story on Webull from a growth perspective. I mean, they're growing users at like 15%. That's just not exciting, right? Especially when there's all these other options out there. Obviously, yes, I like Hood more, but Hood is putting up the growth. And when I compare the growth, it's night and day. So Webull, I don't really see the story there, but from a technical perspective and the fact that it's cheap at $10, you get a lot of people to come into this one. I have not looked into IREN at all. Again, a lot of people are interested in this one. Just I'm not taking the time to look at it, up about 3% on the day. I told you guys yesterday, the main DD that I've done is looking at some of their hyperscaler AI partnerships, and CoreWeave, believe it or not, might be involved in this as well. So I think this one will get a deep dive probably in a week, but IREN right here is up 2% on the day. CoreWeave was down 7%, up a little bit right here after hours. Let's get a bit more coverage on Micron after those results, and then we'll keep going from there. And again, in about 10 minutes, we'll have a guest join the show and we'll get his thoughts on a variety of things happening in the markets as well.
And we just heard it from Micron with the results on this AI trade. Is that alive and well? Does that continue to have legs here?
It seems to, as long as they can post the guidance that they gave just now. I mean, that to me, it's more about guidance, because when you let off the show, you had a series of stocks that were down, all because they did not give good guidance. They tended to be more consumer oriented, which is I think, I'm going to say it's a little bit more of a risk than Brian saw it as. But the semis have been powering the markets this whole way up. And if they can continue to offer the kind of guidance that allows them to keep running, well, then the run continues, and the market needs this to continue, because we're really, I know it's broader than it seems, but it's really driven by semis. It's Nvidia, it's AMD, it's Micron, and the whole AI theme, and the semis are at the root of that.
Yeah, stablecoin seems to be another theme that's emerging here too. I mean, we've been talking about it. Mike Santoli's been tracking it, some of the frothiness we're seeing in the market. I mean, when you see some of the moves like Encircle and some of the other IPOs, that signals what?
It signals that customers are looking for volume, volatility, and are willing to speculate. And I wouldn't say we're at full flight to crap mode yet, but we're definitely in a situation where customers are looking for situations that are moving. And once something gets momentum, that momentum lasts longer and shoots farther than one might expect.
So these were the top 10 names on Interactive Brokers in terms of their 5-day moving average of orders. Tesla, number 1. Circle was freaking number 2. Then you got Nvidia, AMD, HIMS was actually number 1 yesterday. Palantir, TSLL, Coinbase, TQQQ, and CoreWeave. So let's just analyze these right here. Tesla, obviously most volatile in the market, but it is a retail favorite. Same thing with Palantir. Then you have Circle, which is just pure, speculation in my opinion. Then you have TSLL, which the fact that you're going leverage something that's already as volatile, that's speculation. Then people don't just want the NASDAQ, they want triple leveraged NASDAQ at TQQQ. And then you got CoreWeave there. AMD, I understand. Nvidia, I understand. Those are semis. HIMS, it's been dealing with all the controversies of the past couple of days, so that makes sense. Coinbase got a lot of momentum based on the new products they announced. But TQQQ, TSLL, Circle, and CoreWeave are embodying the fact that there is speculation in this market. And that's why when I say I don't like people losing money, but I like that Circle's losing some of the frothiness, it's because you just don't want a bull market to end with so much free money, so much speculation, so much froth that good companies like a Google don't really get respected because people are chasing things like a Circle. And that's why Surf Air Mobility is just another example today. When you chase some of these names, they can really get hit hard, 30% down because of the management taking advantage of people that are chasing, which they should do because, that's their fiduciary duty. But at the end of the day, You just might not want to be one of the people that are chasing. So speculation is high. I think that's something we can't deny. Fartcoin still is at $1 billion market cap, but ironically, speculation is good for Hood. Even though they're diversifying from just people speculating and buying meme stocks and stuff, and that's obvious. But trading volumes are up in this market. And some of that trading volume is coming from people that are just bored of a lot of the traditional names and they're going to other stuff. And that's fine. Like, people can do whatever they want. It's just a question of being sure that when the music stops ringing, you have a chair to sit on. Farcoin right here, 1 billion in terms of its market cap. Now, in terms of speculation, let's talk about something that a lot of people are saying is pretty speculative, but nonetheless, it's happening. Folks, the Federal Housing Administration has said Bitcoin can now be used as collateral to get a mortgage. This is incredible. So the director of the Federal Housing Administration 2 days ago said, hey, we are going to look into it. 2 days later, he said, I spoke to Trump and we are officially ordering Bitcoin to be used as one of the currencies as an asset in risk assessments when it comes to getting a mortgage. So if you have $1 million of Bitcoin and you want to go buy a house and you want a cheaper rate and you want to collateralize that rate with your Bitcoin, meaning if anything happens and you can't pay it back, you can at least pay back the Bitcoin. You couldn't do that in the past. And now you got the Federal Housing Administration, Fannie and Freddie Mae, saying, hey, we'll look at your Bitcoin. And we will use magic money. I'm being facetious here, but magic money to kind of collateralize the assets of a mortgage. Either this goes completely to shit and it leads to something that is very bad for the entire market, or this just continues to compound the normalization of the asset that is Bitcoin. The Saudis, the Chinese, ETFs, BlackRock, the United States themselves, right? That strategic Bitcoin reserve that hopefully will happen. And now you got the federal government saying we're going to back up mortgages via Bitcoin itself, which means the United States now, if this actually goes into law, has a fundamental incentive to not have another 2008 crisis, because or to not have a 2008 crisis driven by Bitcoin falling, right? Something else could cause it, but they're incentivized to not have Bitcoin collapse, because if you've got, I don't know, hundreds of billions of dollars of Bitcoin that is backing up certain mortgages in the country, yeah, you probably don't want those to go down. And so from that perspective, I mean, it's hard to be bearish Bitcoin as long as this ends up playing out. This was a White House official today at a conference saying that the U.S. also has a plan to continue buying more Bitcoin.
Those are top of mind for everybody, working on digital assets in the White House. There will be the forthcoming report on the interagency activities. We've already taken some steps with the SPR. How do we follow that up with the, accumulation plan? So there's no shortage of opportunities and things to do. So after we leave here, I'll get right back to it.
Looks like this train is not stopping. It looks like this train is not stopping. And yeah, it's not crypto, it's Bitcoin in particular, right? Which can have ramifications for all other types of cryptocurrencies. But this is another reason why I like Hood as an exposure. I mean, if that means that more people are going to give a bid to Bitcoin, it just means more people theoretically will want to buy Bitcoin. Robinhood just has to slightly increase their market share over time of the overall trading volumes. They make so much money, so much margin on these crypto products. And you got a big event coming up in Paris or in France next week. That is another bull case where, $82 doesn't seem that crazy if that can continue on this growth. All right, folks, let's bring on a guest to the show today. I don't think he's ever been on My Market Close, but he has been on Robinhood Weekly before. And he's someone that we all met a couple months ago. He got bullish on Hood, caught our attention on Twitter by posting some awesome DD. And we're going to bring him on and get some of his thoughts on the market, Hood, everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh. Josh, what's up?
Hey, everyone. Hey, how's it going? How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I love your Southern accent.
Thanks, man. It's a little slow. If you need to fast forward, go for it. I understand.
It is.
Every time I listen, when I play my stuff back and listen to it, I'm like, why do you talk so slow?
I have the opposite. I talk too fast. The Southern accent and the British accent, I love it. And the Australians. Those three are the best ones. So, Josh, thank you for being here. Got a lot of questions to ask you. Everyone, this is Josh. Hopefully he becomes a regular contributor to the channel. I'm putting his Twitter right here in the chat. You guys can check him out. Josh, let's get started with this. When did you start buying Robinhood? And just give me your macro take on hitting all-time highs today.
So I started trading Robinhood end of 2023, around the time that their revenue flipped a net income flip positive. I really got in and did my first deep dive on it in early 2024, kind of around the same time all of you guys got in. Macro, us being at all-time highs, I was kind of thinking $100 this year. I've had a bunch of posts screaming about 100. I didn't think we'd get there this quickly. That was kind of like my end of so yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. I mean, everything that could go right has went right to this point from a macro perspective. Like Bitcoin getting, like you were just talking about, getting the backing from our government, stable coins going through the Genius bill. And that's just part of it, right? The other part of it is Robinhood's execution. Like they've done everything that I was thinking they would do and then some. And I think next week when we have the June 30th crypto summit, one of my big things for this year that I thought would really drive us even higher is blockchain, which, I mean, Vlad hasn't said it outright, but he's more or less said it. In like, if you listen to the call today for investors or shareholders, like he kind of said it, and I think that's what they're hinting at. That's coming up, and it's also just a coincidence that Ethereum is also having their conference the same day in the same place. So yeah, that's one of the other things I'm bullish on is Ethereum. I think there's going to be something between Robinhood and Ethereum as a blockchain of choice. That's just speculation.
Look at Robinhood's Twitter. They're quote tweeting the Ethereum community conference. It does feel like there might be a little collaboration here.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and if there is, obviously that could be very bullish for Ethereum as well. Okay, so I want to ask you some more specific questions on Hood, and then we'll talk macro. Do you think it's overvalued here?
On what time scale?
No.
A
year out.
No, I don't think so.
Why?
Because some of the revenue drivers really haven't kicked in yet. Like, I think they'll continue to gain market share, for one. I think they'll continue to bring over new accounts. I think the blockchain narrative, what that could do for them going forward, I think it's going to get priced in. Like, will it show on their balance sheet immediately? I don't think so, but I think the market will jump ahead of itself and keep driving this higher. Because I think their margins will be so much better on a blockchain model as opposed to the current TradFi model that they're operating on now, which is payment for order flow.
Right.
And I think staking, like there's so many things that haven't happened yet for them. Like there's no staking in the US. I think that'll bring way more AUM onto their platform. People will bring over crypto. It'll just sit there. As a staked asset. I think that'll drive it higher as well. And they keep executing, like they keep adding new things. Like I don't even know, like these are just things I think are going to come.
Dude, the mortgage
keep driving the price.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah, mortgages that just came out. Like this crypto offering with the fancy little amount shown at the top of it that's already up to like $16 million.
Yep.
Like they just keep doing stuff. Like it's not necessarily like crazy things that they're doing. It's just stuff that no one else is doing. Like that offering is just unique to them. Like you don't see Schwab doing this or JP Morgan. Like I think they could flip Schwab in the next 2 years. I think they should flip Schwab in the next 2 years. I think they're going to eat their cake. Like, like they're going to take everyone from them. Like it's going to get to a point where it just doesn't make sense to trade anywhere else. I know a lot of people complained about like some of their tools weren't as good. Like you think about TOS versus what Robinhood did have as far as charting and fundamentals. The way they're rolling out new stuff, they're going to catch up to them in less than a year on that front. And then it's like, well, what excuse do you have now? Like custodial accounts, maybe, but Vlad says they're looking at that. I think that's probably going to happen in the next year.
Yeah, I think and this is the beauty of investing in a founder-driven company, which is why it's hard to find the next Hood. It's hard to find the next Palantir. It's like when they are this ruthless, and Vlad's rich. Like money is not motivating him here, right? Like every time the thing goes up $1, he makes like $50 million because he has 50 million shares. Like this is not about money anymore. It's about he really has a vision, and that uniquely comes from a founder. It's hard to find that.
Yes.
By the way, Josh, so I have the best chat on YouTube, so I have to tell you what they're saying.
I'm reading
right now.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, so number one, please ignore all the grinder comments, but this is the actual funny one. They called you Timu Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
It's the best chat on YouTube. It's the best chat on YouTube. You guys are wild, bro. You guys are actually wild. This is why I can never actually bring a girl on to the stream, because they would just be like,
I can only imagine.
Like, you're just an analyst talking about Hood, and they're like talking about Grinder. Like, I will never bring on a girl at this point. I can't do it. Okay, give me your take on the macros. So, like, do you think J-Pow should be cutting rates right now?
Yes.
Why?
I think he should have been cutting rates like, I don't know, at the beginning of the year. He should have still been cutting. They just don't look at the right. I mean, if you looked at Trueflation at any point in the last 6 months, it's been like 2%. I think at one point it was 1%. Housing is starting to finally kind of cool off and roll over. That's been one of the main things holding up inflation to this point. I mean, if you look outside of that, everything else, I mean, his excuse for tariffs, like longer term tariffs aren't even inflationary, they're deflationary.
Right.
Like, so if your argument is that short term you're going to have tariff inflation, which we haven't seen in any of the reports, CPI or PPI, and you think we would have seen that by now, considering what, April, I mean, it's been 2 months almost since tariffs were implemented, and there's nothing in the data that suggests that even short term it's been inflationary, at least not enough to offset.
Do you think he's being political, or what is the logic for why you think it's happening?
I want to believe he's not being political. And I don't know, right? It's still a committee. I don't know how much pushback he's getting from the other committee members.
Right.
Like, he should be, ultimately, I think it's his responsibility to drive them to like the right decision. But even if it's not political for him, it could be political for all of the other committee members who are, you saw the dot plot. I mean, the majority of them were on the less cut side of things. So
they were on zero cuts for the whole year.
Yeah.
So, no, I agree, and I think he got pretty grilled today at the testimony.
Saw that.
Yeah.
That one guy made some pretty good points. I forget which representative that was, but yeah, he called him pretty good, especially about the tariff comment. Like, he's definitely. I mean, they've it's in their summary of economic projections. I'm pretty sure they mentioned the word tariffs in there. If not, they allude to it.
Yeah, and I think if they're so obsessed with tariffs, the question becomes, are they going to be right about it? Because if they're right about tariffs, and like tariffs actually are so inflationary, you got to give J-Pow the credit to be able to say he had the vision to see what was going to happen in the future. But if they're wrong, which if Trump lowers tariffs even a little across the entire board because he gets trade deals, they're going to be wrong. There's not going to be this outstanding tariff inflation.
Yeah, I think they're wrong already. It's just not going to happen. I don't think there's, unless, and the direction that tariffs are headed in, I mean, they're already coming down. Like, most of them have come down. I don't think, we're going to see, I mean, we know we're not going to see this crazy 200% tariff that people were so worried about in April. It's already gone. It's not coming back. Like, at this point, he's just being stubborn. I don't get it, honestly.
Okay, let's talk about a name that you do a lot of DD on. I am not in this name, but I know a lot of people in the chat will finally be happy that we have someone talk about it, because people have been asking for a long time. TSSI is the ticker symbol. It is a small cap, and this stock year to date is up 100%. What is the thesis here, and why do you still like this name?
So if you want like a really deep dive on it, you can go to my page. I actually have it pinned right now. It's about 38 minutes. But if you listen to me on 2X, which is like 1X for a normal human, you can watch it in 17 minutes. I definitely recommend, if you want to know more about it, like really in depth, just go watch that video. But generally, I mean, it looks crazy, right? The chart looks crazy. And this chart doesn't even make it look that crazy. Do the 5-year chart or the 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah. So people look at that and they're immediately like, ew, I don't want to buy now. Like, it's obviously at a top, but it really isn't. So just to give you a little bit of perspective, they're getting added to the Russell June 30th, which is part of why the price has been getting pushed up. I think it's ETFs front running Russell inclusion. But right now they're sitting at right a 670 million market cap roughly is where they're trading at. So don't look at the price. Think of it in terms of market cap. The median market cap for a Russell 2000 stock is 960 million. So they're trading 33% below the median. But if you look at their actual revenue growth, they're in the top 1 percentile of the entire Russell 2000. But they're trading in the bottom 55 percentile.
Before we go into the numbers as well, these guys make the servers for Dell, correct? That's kind of the core thesis.
They do the data systems integrations for Dell, and they do procurement. And one of the hits on them, speaking to that point, was that a lot of their revenue, I think 90% of it came from procurement, which is a low margin business last quarter. But they just expanded their Georgetown facility, which is in Texas, which happens to be where Stargate's getting built out. About 2 hours down the road, is just 3x their capacity. But that's it to support data integration, which is a 40% margin business for them. Right. So I think they're going to scale into that higher margin business segment, which is the deployment validation of these racks in the AI data centers.
The reason they're getting this much of a bid is because of AI and demand for GPUs.
Yeah, it's definitely following the AI narrative, but they're cash flow positive. They have positive net income for 5 quarters in a row now, and they're projecting out net income positive for the rest of the year. They grew 526% quarter over quarter in revenue last quarter. They had a quarter last year. I mean, it's a lumpy business, so it kind of goes up and down. But I think from Q2 to Q3 last year, they had a 1,000% increase in revenue. Year over year, they were 176% last quarter. So they're growing like crazy. I mean, they're getting all of Dell's work. So everything that Dell has, and you can just look at Dell's earnings calls and see what is coming down the road for TSSI, because they're a direct beneficiary of everything that Dell does. So if you listen to Dell talk about, we have, a 3-year backlog. Who do you think that backlog goes to? That backlog is being fed to TSSI, and they have a contract with Dell through 2027. So I don't see their revenue going anywhere for at least 2 years. And they're not exclusive to Dell. They don't have to work just for Dell. They can work for anyone. So if somebody else wants to contract them for their data center build out, they can. Like
could SMCI contract them if they wanted to?
Yes. Yeah.
So revenue growth is strong. AI. The reason I don't have a position in this, but the reason I thought it was interesting is because we look at there are a lot of small caps that are getting momentum, right? The Surf Air Mobilities, whatever. A lot of those small caps are shit companies, and a lot of those small caps are getting pumped and dumped, simply dilution, all this stuff. What are your thoughts on this as a sub-billion-dollar company? 2 parts of this question: is it a shitco? And 2, do you think dilution is coming given the stock's up 100%?
I think dilution may come. I don't think it's going to come anytime soon. Like I said, they have more cash than debt right now, and they're free cash flow positive. So they're making money. They're not losing money. So they're definitely not a shit penny stock. And they're projecting to continue to grow on that trajectory, at least, like I said, going out a couple of years probably. Unless the AI narrative dies and unless these hyperscalers start like really cutting back on this build out, like they haven't even broke ground on Stargate yet. And that was supposed to be a $500 billion data center that they're building in Texas.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're based in Texas is kind of crazy. Like they're really close to where this is going to get built. So I think logistically, it's going to make a lot of sense to use them. And these are really complex systems that are being built. Like you can't just get anyone to do that. There's less than 10 companies that do this kind of work in the world at a level that you would trust. I mean, these data centers aren't like your regular server farm.
Right.
Like there's way more that goes into them from a technical standpoint. And likely whoever you use to build it is the person you're going to use to do maintenance, to do upgrades, because you're going to want the person that like installed it. They know the most about it to continue to work on it going forward. So I think they'll have a pretty good business long into the future.
Okay, now they do have a lot of debt, so that's another big risk.
Do.
Yeah, so everyone
But
needs to know
that's
about that.
from that's from their build out of the Georgetown site.
How do you think the refinancing of that debt could have implications on earnings growth?
I think it's more, they do have a shelf that they can add. They can dilute if they want to. I think they're more likely to just dilute for additional money at some point. But they just got this data center. They just got their expansion online. This will be the first month that it's run at full capacity. I think they'll at least wait a quarter to see what kind of return they're getting on that before they do any kind of dilution to expand again.
Right.
Or to pay off debt. Because if they grow like they think they're going to, I don't think they need to dilute. I mean, they're going to be making, the revenue last quarter was 100 million. I think it'll be 130 million this quarter. I mean, how much debt do they have right now?
What competitors are there to TSSI?
I mean, SMCI would be
The
a
biggest
competitor. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that's the only other one you can name. Like no one else could name another player in this. That's what I'm saying. There's so few players in this segment, and it's going to be such a big segment for AI. I mean, AI infrastructure it's going to be pretty important. I mean, this is what everything's being built on, and there's only a few companies in the world that do this kind of work. And I have some data I can share with you if you want to look at it real quick.
Yeah, you can send me it on Twitter. The summary right here, though, is this could be a theoretically a little mini CoreWeave Nebius, not in terms of the actual company itself, but in terms of the space that it's in. The risk, though, the number one risk is that dilution absolutely could come, given the stock's up 100%, and then you could be holding the bag. Number two is their debt. So I think if people are interested in this, because I know I've been getting a lot of questions about it as a company that's a small cap, that's not a shitty small cap, the harm is, dilution could be around the corner if they want to.
I just one more thing on this. I think it's just, for me right now, it's way undervalued where it is. Now, dilution or not, just to give you some statistics, because it's getting ready to be added to the Russell. Average revenue growth in the Russell 2000 is 8.5% annually. TSSI's was 172% last year. Quarter over quarter, it's 12%. TSI's Q1 was 520%. Profitability, the average profitability of the Russell is minus 5%. TSI is actually profitable at 4%. Revenue efficiency, which is just their revenue relative to their market cap, is 36. The Russell average is 14. And their market cap is 670, but the median market cap for the Russell is 960. So tell me how that makes any sense. I think they're at least 30% undervalued right now relative to their peers if you're going to do like it on a comparison basis. And they're not even getting the AI multiple. They're trading at like a 2.8 multiple right now. And AI is usually 4 to 6x revenue multiple. So it's grossly undervalued, in my opinion. I mean, it doesn't make sense for them to be top 1% of the Russell 2000 in revenue growth, but trade in the bottom 55% in market cap, percentile wise.
Right. All right, there you go. That is some DD that I know a lot of people have been asking about TSSI. Josh, we do have some breaking news. The CBOE has filed for a Pudgy Penguins NFT ETF. See, this is the shit that I'm like.
Makes you a little worried.
It makes you a lot worried, actually. Like, this is like.
It's a little frothy.
It's like, really? NFT ETFs? That's what's coming back? Like, this is. But then again, every time we've had a moment like this, which over the past couple months, to be fair, there's been a lot of them. Everyone said, okay, this is a top signal. It was not a top signal. It just wasn't, right? So, I mean, maybe this is, but like S&P's up 4% year to date.
Which isn't, crazy, right?
Which is
nothing. That's pretty standard, right?
Pretty standard, yeah.
I mean, we've more or less gone nowhere. It feels like.
At least compared to the past 2 years of the bull market, it's nothing.
Right.
Overall, it's fine.
But if you look at it since the election, we've actually literally gone nowhere. Yeah. Like since January 20th, since the inauguration day, we were flat since Trump took office. The 4% was pretty much all in the first 20 days of January. that we had.
Yeah.
So it feels to me like we definitely have room to go this year, market wide. I mean, if you look at the 12-week leading M2 chart, which shows 3 months out what M2 money supply where it's going, it goes up at least through August. Like it's going up still, and as long as there's the M2 money supply is going up, usually the market follows it too, because the money has to go somewhere.
Correct.
And some of it's going to go into the market.
Correct. Which is just the point that liquidity can continue to keep this thing pumping, even if things are a bit toppy. Are you an Nvidia bull? How do you think about this one?
I kind of have to be if I'm buying TSSI.
It's so funny, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has to be bullish on an AI or semi name on Nvidia. Even
I think you have to be
right?
bullish on Nvidia. If you're not bullish on Nvidia, you can't be bullish on the stock market. AI is the only reason any of this works right now. Like, I think without AI, everything falls apart. Like, you have to be bullish AI. You can't say you're bullish on equities without being bullish on Nvidia. Like, it's incongruent.
This is Nvidia right here compared to European banks. Do you hold Nvidia, or you kind of think there's better risk rewards for you out there?
Yeah, I'd risk reward. I'd rather buy something like TSSI, as silly as that sounds, considering it's up 100%. I don't think you're not going to make 100% on Nvidia right now, right? It's already done its thing. I mean, it's definitely a good long-term hold. Like, you buy and hold it, but do you really think it's going to double again in the next year? Probably not. There's a bunch of other things that could, like Robinhood is definitely going to double again before Nvidia will.
You think Robinhood 160 before Nvidia 300?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, it's just lower market cap to move as well. Okay, so we got about 10 minutes left with Josh. Anyone has any specific questions on tickers, you can put them in the chat. Josh, feel free to be like, I just have no opinion on that if you don't. And if you do, then you can give us your take. I'll start it off with Himmy Hims. What do you think about this Novo controversy?
Novo? I mean, I think there's got to be something to it. So I actually was in Novo from about 50 until like 120 during the initial ramp up of GLPs, because I work in pharma and I actually have family that work at Novo.
We should tell everybody what you do. You're a chemical engineer, right?
No, well, I am a scientist technically. I don't know, it sounds stupid. Not really. So I work in the lab for a pharmaceutical company, or at least I used to. Now I manage projects for large pharma companies.
Got it.
I can't say who because CDAs, but I have family that worked in Novo, so I know a whole lot about Novo, and they actually have a massive site here in North Carolina, right down the road from me, where they manufacture these GLP-1s. And I don't think they do this unless they have like some hard evidence. Like, they don't issue that statement as aggressive as it was unless they know. Like, they have something, and if it goes to court, they will bury them, I think. A lot of people aren't going to hear that, I know, but they're not making this up. Like, and I don't know how Hims, like, if depending on what Novo has on them, like, I don't know how they'll justify it or argue it in court, but I think it does see litigation, like, in the next year.
Do you believe at all in Hims' response so far that's like, we're not going to be strong-armed by Big Pharma?
Well, yeah, I'm sure Novo doesn't want them to compound their own drugs and undercut them after they spent, like, I don't know, billions of dollars getting those drugs to market, and Hims comes in and does literally nothing and goes through a compounder to compound them without putting in any of the upfront costs that require to get a drug to market. People don't understand how expensive it is and how many years it takes, to get a drug through FDA approval. And then to have a company compound a drug that isn't, it's FDA approved, but their process is not approved. These compounders are not FDA regulated. Like, no, there's no one doing audits. They could be putting bleach in these vials and people would still inject them into themselves. Like, there's no regulation for it. Now, and Novo is kind of CYAing themselves right now because they don't want to be affiliated with HIMS if HIMS is making product that isn't under their like manufacturing control. Because it could come back to get them. Like if they're selling it as Wegovy and it's not Wegovy and somebody gets sick and dies, pretty sure that makes them liable too.
So to clarify, are you bearish? Would you short, or do you think it's just not worth the risk buying it here?
I mean, I think they make money on other stuff, so it's not. I'm more worried about reputational damage than anything, because I think at some point they do have to work with companies like a Lilly or Novo. I think they have a really good marketing, structure to them. Like they're great at that, and I think larger pharma companies could benefit from partnering with them to get access to their clientele. And if HIMS was really truly supporting them and like trying to sell their product and not their own product, I think that's attractive. But from what Novo said, it sounds like they were selling their own product still, but saying it was Wegovy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, HIMS is upset because it's like they knew the risks of getting into this deal together, but obviously the HIMS version of Wegovy started selling more, and that's their take on why Novo got upset. But Novo has their own points. So.
There is no HIMS version of Wegovy. Like Wegovy is owned by Novo. HIMS is compounding the peptide, which is all it is, but it's not done, in a regulatory manner that's approved by the FDA.
So wait, so what part of that process is approved? Because there has to be some part of the compounded process.
Well, I mean, the manufacturing process has to be approved. The testing has to be done through an approved laboratory. You have to be audited annually by the FDA. The manufacturer has to be audited. The laboratories that test it have to be audited. There's lots of paperwork involved. That's part of that process too. Like you have to do clinical trials.
So why wouldn't HIMS have a safe version then of this?
Because they didn't do any of that work. They're compounding the same compound that Novo did the work for.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So you can. I mean, it's probably fine. Yes, like there's other drugs that are compounded too. Not just this one. That like compounders make all kinds of stuff. You can do it at a pharmacy, but it's not regulated the way that mass-produced things like Wegovy and Zepbound and what Manjaro are, which is Lilly's version of it. Yeah.
UNH, you like this one or no?
It's okay. Yeah, I don't love healthcare. Like, it just seems like I don't know, opportunity cost maybe. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to figure it out and get back on track. And like, it may take 6 years. Like, I don't want to wait on that. There's just too many other stocks like Robinhood that are more attractive short term.
Right. Tesla, does it offer a risk-adjusted reward here, given the future of physical AI?
If you really believe like in FSD and like robotics, like Optimus, I think it's fine. But if that stuff doesn't work out, then it's grossly overvalued. Like it's a gamble. I think it's a bigger gamble than other stocks right now that you could get at lower valuations.
Right.
I think it has a lot of upside. Let's just say that. Are you willing to take the risk for it?
Any thoughts on this one that's getting some FinTwit love? Iren?
No thoughts on that.
Okay. Delo, any thoughts on that one? International payments provider? No. Okay.
No.
Amazon.
Amazon. Yeah, I think this is a good price. I think Amazon will at least get to 250 in the next 12 months.
Out of the Max 7s, what would
I think it's the most attractive. out of the Mag
Okay.
7s.
A lot of people have been saying that. Why do you think that?
Just from valuation standpoint, I mean, they have other revenue avenues that, like the AWS obviously is a big one. I think they'll get more involved. Like the pharmacy stuff, like things like that, I think will pan out for them eventually. I mean, they just make so much money. Like, it's hard to ignore Amazon. They have like multiple billion-dollar revenue sectors, like tens of billions of dollars.
Yeah, it just feels like if you don't care about a lot of things in the market, you want an easy buy, Amazon's not going anywhere for the next
Right.
day. Okay, so here's one. SoFi, given how much you like Robinhood, any thoughts on this one?
It's all right.
He's saving you
mean,
guys from going on a rant because he could go on a rant.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I mean, at this price, is probably like, it's not a bad investment. It's just not a great one. I'm lukewarm on it. Let's just say that.
Nebius, CoreWeave, any thoughts on those?
I mean, I feel like I have to like these two, right? Because it's still the same narrative with AI. Like, if you think that it's going to continue to boom, then they're going to keep doing well. I mean, they kind of do the same thing, right? With
you can like the names, but maybe not like the valuation, which is fair.
Yeah, I think the valuation's a little rich. But I mean, unless AI narrative dies, I don't see them selling off like significantly, especially if these hyperscalers keep coming out on their earnings and saying we need more compute, we're going to increase CapEx. Like, they're not going anywhere.
Right. Meta. Is this one attractive at all in the Max 7 to you?
I like Meta. I like Meta from a standpoint of what they might offer. Yeah, the VR stuff, it's kind of like Tesla. Like, if you think that VR, the headsets and Reality Labs and that stuff is going to work out for them, then yeah, it's going to $1,000 probably. And they're also they still have 3 billion people using their platform. Like, half the world almost is still using, either Facebook or Instagram. They print money.
Do you use Facebook, Instagram every day or no?
I use Instagram probably every day. I would say every day. Facebook, no, haven't used that in a very long time.
So then the follow-up here is Google. Would you rather buy Meta over Google based on the Google Blue Link existential crisis?
No. A lot of people are kind of hype on Google too for the same like valuation reason. They think it's the valuation is, I mean, they also print money, but like a lot of that is YouTube and search driven for ads. Like, if that sector, I mean, so far it's held up and we're not seeing any weakness. But if it does get disrupted at all by AI, they're going to stop growing. Once their growth stops, they're dead.
You'd rather buy Meta over Google?
Yes.
Gotcha. How would you classify yourself as an investor? Like, if you had to come up with a theme or a philosophy, is there something you've developed in your head? You look for short-term things, small caps, founder-led companies. How do you think of investing in general?
Nah, I definitely like founder-led companies. I like narratives. So, like, obviously AI narrative, which, I mean, you could even throw Hood in that now with Cortex, right? Just another reason to buy. Narrative driven, valuation partially is important. I definitely like founder-led companies. I think they long-term tend to do better. My overall goal, though, for I have my IRA and I have my 401k that I just DCA into, and that's the bulk of my money. But for like trading and the stuff I'm actively trading, it's definitely looking for like a greater risk reward, like asymmetry and more upside. Like, I'm taking way more risk in my trading account.
Rocket Lab ASTS, do you think there is a space narrative or is it all hype?
There's definitely a narrative. I just don't know the time frame. Like, it's hard to know like how fast that will expand and like how far we'll take it and how quickly we'll get there. Like, will it be in my lifetime? Maybe, but I don't know. I don't know that. And it's the same. It's kind of like CoreWeave and Nibius. The valuations have just really, I mean, they're up there right now. I mean, they're very cool companies and like they are attractive. I guess if you're going to hold it for a really long time, but if you're looking for short term, like immediate, like next year, like I feel like a lot of it's baked in right now. Unless something, unless they do something different, significantly different than what they've done so far. Like I don't know what catalysts they have in the near term as far as missions and stuff that they're planning on doing. I like ASTS a little bit better because
on the business model front, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
more SaaS versus launch. Nike tomorrow, pump or dump?
God, what is Nike even at now? Like I don't even look at it anymore. It made me so sick just looking at it. 60. God, what
do you guys say in the
trash
chat?
stock.
Let's do a pump or dump preliminary on Nike. What do you think?
Can it go much lower? I mean, like how bad can it get? I feel like this is one of those where you sell puts at $50 and just make the premium on a weekly. I don't think it's like, do you really think it's going to go below 50 from here? It's already so far down.
So the low is 52.
Right. I mean, it's already beaten up. Like, do you think it's going to drop another 20%? No, probably not. It's one of those that it'll probably pop just because like people are expecting it to be so bad that it's bad, but not as bad as people thought, and it'll just go up.
That's exactly what happened last quarter, but then it came right back down after that.
Yep.
So
yeah, it'll go up and rinse everyone that's buying puts, and then it'll come back down and kill everybody that bought calls.
Yeah, exactly. 60% of you say dump. All right, Josh, last two questions for you. Again, you guys can check him out on his Twitter. He also has a YouTube as well that I'll link right here in the chat. And you can check out his TSSI thesis. He has plenty of videos on Robinhood, and you can subscribe to him there. Ethereum, you like this right here more than Bitcoin. Why?
Risk reward. I think short term, it has more upside. The catalyst, like I mentioned, I mean, if Robinhood comes out and announces that they're going to blockchain equities or ETFs on the Ethereum blockchain, like something like that will be major. Staking, US, right? Once these brokerages like Robinhood allow staking on US platforms, that's going to be supply that gets locked up. They do have a burn too. That's the other thing. I don't think I've talked about it. I don't know that I've heard it talked about a lot, but Ethereum does have a burn mechanism. So imagine that they get, any percentage of transactions that are done on equities is done on their blockchain, then it has to be done with Ethereum. So every trade that's made for Apple or SPY is a transaction on Ethereum. So every time that happens, there's a burn.
Right.
And there are tens and hundreds of millions of trades and transactions every day on the NYSE and Amex. And if they ever get to a point where they're, I don't know, getting 5-10% of those transactions occurring on their blockchain, it's going to burn a ton of Ethereum. And if you have that happening and you have staking approved in the US where everybody is staking Ethereum that they own on Robinhood to get a yield, even though it's a low yield now, it's not as good as it used to be back in the day. Once rates come down, Ethereum yield might be more attractive than treasuries. If it's still at 3%, say if treasuries come down to 2% on a 10-year, you have that happening and you have it being used by financial institutions to do transactions. And it doesn't just have to be equities, right? It could be mortgages. It could be anything that's real world tokenized on Ethereum that is used in transactions those transactions will just burn more Ethereum. And the more that occurs, I think, supply constraint mixed, with that happening at the same time is just going to drive the price higher. And I don't think it's crazy high right now. I mean, it's at 2,500. I mean, it's never even really gotten close to retesting its all-time high from a couple of years ago.
Do you like SBET as a way to get exposure or just Ethereum?
I know a lot of people. I've actually traded in and out of SBET. I mean, it's almost trading at 1-to-1 right now. I think it's a little bit more than 1-to-1. So it's way more attractive than like from that perspective than MSTR would be, because it's not trading at like 4 times NAV.
Right.
Yeah, SBET would be a good way to get exposure. I think short term it's just really interesting because of that, because of the narrative that financial institutions might use it as their blockchain. I know a lot of people have reasons why they don't think it'll be Ethereum, but other than Solana, like I don't know, like what else is there? Like it's going to be one of those two, I feel like, in the short term, and maybe Robinhood or whoever else implements these tokenized securities. They might pivot later on, but I think right now the only two that are even feasible for use at scale are Ethereum or Solana. I think Kraken already said they were going to use Solana, I think, to do this. So it's already happening. I think Hood's going to announce it, and that's another reason why I don't think they're going to use Solana. I think they'll use something different. And it's just it's too much of a coincidence for them to be there with Ethereum. I think it's going to be Ethereum.
I think next week we're going to get a lot of crypto. I mean, that's probably explains the run up over the past couple of days. Like market.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the $115 call for 2026 January got $2.5 million of premium today. It was, and people bought it above the ask. They were just trying to get the exposure. So definitely pretty incredible there. All right, one quick last question, then I'll hit you with my actual last question. People are asking in the chat, ABCL and RXRX. Given you're a scientist, any
I
thoughts?
saw those. I was gonna mention that. So I have traded ABCL before. RXRX I know a little bit more about. I know they're both kind of in the using AI to find molecules for drug development. I think it's when the day comes that anyone actually finds a major discovery this way, those companies are going to go up like 100x in a day.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be a major thing. Drug discovery is so hard that if anyone ever finds out how to use this AI for drug discovery, like they're going to be able to print money at that point. And just the story alone, like it doesn't even have to get approved. If they discover something that like, makes it through phase 1 trials and shows promise, like a cancer cure or ALS cure or Alzheimer's cure. I mean, it would go to like from $5 to $100 in probably like a day.
We saw that with RGC, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they I don't think they have anything necessarily approved, but they went crazy just based on that momentum. So that's why biotech is such a risky game. But if you are in it for the long term and it works,
well, I think that space, like that space for AI use in biotech, it just cuts out so many man hours.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a big thing. I think that's one of the crazy strong use cases for AI. And I know Jensen, I think, owns RXRX.
Nvidia does own it.
Nvidia does, right?
Yep.
And they're like a big supporter of that. So I trust anything that Jensen thinks might work out. I pretty much trust that it might work out too.
I would agree. All right, actual last question for you. This one should be a fun one. We're going to put 2 minutes on the clock, and you will have to make your own 10 stock portfolio. And you're going to have to pick out of these names. So I'm going to start the timer in 2 minutes. You're going to give me your names. I will write them down. I put TSSI on the list for you if you want to take
Thank you. Appreciate you getting that one in there for me. All right, you ready?
I'm ready. Here we go.
All right, just 10, right?
Just 10.
All right, Hood, TSSI you've already got. Meta, AVGO. Let's see.
Only 10 seconds in. You got time.
I know.
Chat, you got to help him out.
Nah, I'm just thinking.
You're gonna stand pound here, but he's not gonna
I'm looking at all of them first.
There is Nvidia up there.
ASTS.
Okay.
Oklo.
Oklo? Okay. Oh.
Yeah, I'll throw Oklo on there. AMD. I'm going AI heavy. I know. And growth.
Right, so hold on. So far, we have Hood, TSSI, Meta, Broadcom, ASTS, Oklo, AMD. That's 7.
Okay. PanW.
Ooh. Okay.
Lily.
Okay. Last one. You got a minute. So you got your time to think.
Oh man.
You still haven't
I feel
picked
like I
NVIDIA.
should pick
That's
something
okay.
safe, but I've been so aggressive. I don't want to do something like Exxon.
I mean, all the Mac 7 is there. You got Shopify, Adobe, Uber, Flutter, Take-Two, SMCI.
And Oscar. I'll do Oscar as the other one.
Oscar. Okay, there you go.
Their fundamentals look really good right now too.
This is Josh's list. I think we should do this with every new guest on the channel. This is a fun one. 30 seconds spare. Hood, TSSI, Meta, Broadcom, ASTS, Oklo, AMD, Palo Alto, Lilly, and Oscar. There you go.
And this is over what time frame?
About a year.
This is a year. Okay. Yeah, that makes a big difference because I think if you look beyond a year, there's other ones that can make sense, but yeah.
There you go. Josh, I love it. Thank you for an awesome
sir.
debut on the channel. Josh's Twitter right here in the chat. Contrary to popular belief, I am not in love with Josh, but you guys can believe.
I mean, allegedly.
I mean, that accent. If
Right.
you know how you said you should 2x your videos? I might keep it on normal speed just to get more time with the accent.
I think I'm going to get into a new segment. It's going to be like ASMR stocks and just put people to sleep talking about stocks. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
I love it. Josh,
Have
thank
a
you.
good one. Yep.
See you on the next
Take
one.
care, everyone. See you.
Later. All right, there we go. There we go. That was awesome. So Josh has been a friend of mine for the past couple of months now, and we got him on the show for the first time here today. But as you can see, I mean, he's at a pretty sophisticated HUD thesis, followed up with how he thinks of AI. Again, TSSI, more of a small stock or small cap stock. Obviously, a lot of risk there, but definitely he thinks that the smaller names that are pivotal to this AI revolution have a little bit better risk reward. NVIDIA right here, 154 after hours. Micron, a little bit of the steam coming down, unfortunately, up 3%. It was up almost 8%. Their earnings call, I think, is either happening now or starting in like 15 minutes. And so the street will get to digest what they're saying on the earnings as well. No, we are not serious about the grinder stuff. The chat is just the chat. Tanner, great day today. Who's winning on the ETF? Let's see. I think Tanner might be Tanner's definitely 2. He's not 1 yet, but he's definitely 2. Matt's got to still be number 1. Let's pull this up. He definitely sounds like Matthew McConaughey. That is facts. And I love the Matthew McConaughey accent as well. So I definitely think he sounds like that. Matt's up 9. Tanner's up 5, almost 6. I'm up 1. Freaking Duolingo. Absolutely nuking my portfolio here. 397. How, why? Can someone tell me, just someone, I would love anyone's opinion. Why is Duolingo down 15% this week? Because I still have not figured it out. And I don't get it. I really am starting to convince myself. I went on a rant and a hedge fund manager listened to me about why language learning is stupid. And they sold this freaking stock. It's insane. Chris right here is up 0.35. Steve is down because of HIMS. So I'm still in 3rd place, even with Duolingo, because Chris has Novo that's hurting him, and Steve has freaking HIMS that's wrecking him right now, which is pretty wild. Matt's top winner is on a total return basis. Oscar still. His biggest loser is Bros. Chris's biggest winner is Cisco. His biggest loser is Novo. Tanner's biggest loser is AppLovin. Biggest winner is Coinbase. Steve's biggest loser is HIMS. Biggest winner is Micron. My biggest winner is AMD. Hood is still up there, 8%. And my biggest loser is Duolingo. Dude, if I didn't have Duolingo, or if Duolingo just chills out, I wouldn't be that bad. And Visa's recovering. Visa was down 7%. Now it's down 2%. So, but Duolingo, that one's hurting me. AMD, Tesla, Hood, Palantir, really holding up the portfolio for me. Palantir right here after hours, 142. Tessie, 326. Nvidia, 154. And then you got Robinhood, 82.95. I can't believe Steve picked HIMS. Who put him up to it? Well, Steve actually likes HIMS. He likes the growth. He hasn't bought it yet, but he likes the growth. And look, a week ago, no one thought HIMS was in this existential problem for their business. And now that Novo thing just, quite frankly, it hit everybody. I mean, like just slapped everyone in the face, and that completely changed, at least for now, the perception of the thesis on the stock. S&P 500 right here, 607. And so that is one he's going to have to deal with. But look, I think HIMS recovers. I don't think it's going to be a quick recovery, but this is a year-long challenge. So there is plenty of time to recover. Reddit right here, 142, Amazon 212, Meta 709. You got Salesforce 267, Tesla again 326, Palantir 142, and then Nvidia 154.60, Robin at 82.95, and then Palantir 142.97. Not bad. Tanner, Tanner does have Nvidia. That's another reason he had a good day. He does have Nvidia as well. All right, I think that is it, folks. We are done for the close today. Yeah, this goes by a year. So next year, this time, it'll officially be over. And we will compare results a year from now. But we have a year to kind of see how this plays out. Duolingo is down since not many English language speakers care to learn another language. No, they do, though. They're growing 40%. Maybe I don't think it matters, but their growth is incredible. I'm just so confused why this week it happened. I don't get it. Are we done worrying about tariffs? Well, JPal's still worried, but I think in general, the market doesn't care about World War III. They don't care about tariffs. They don't care about anything. Like, they really do not care about anything right now, which is pretty incredible. It's pretty freaking incredible. This is the most resilient market we've seen. For those that missed this chart that I showed earlier, $4.4 billion of tech stocks were bought last week. This was the most since June of 2024. And that, to me, we don't officially have the data if that's institutional, but it feels like that's a lot of institutions coming in and saying, all right, it's time to buy. It is time to buy. All right, last thing I want to show you guys, and then I'm out for the day. I actually found a video. So we were talking about the New York City electoral politics. Here's a video from Jan 13th that I thought there's a lot of layers to this video that I think are really interesting. This is from Mamdani, video he put out about halal food in New York City. And I think from an investing perspective, it also makes sense to analyze that just to get a taste of the political climate in this country and how people are thinking of ultimately what New York is likely going to see as their first mayor, first socialist mayor. This is what we got from Zohan. I want to analyze this video. It's a 1-minute clip after we watch it.
New York is suffering from a crisis, and it's called halalflation. Today, we're going to get to the bottom of this. How much does a plate of halal cost right now from this truck?
$10.
$10. Chicken over rice, lamb over rice, $10.
$10?
Yeah.
When you're a street vendor, you have to pay for the food, the plates. How much do you have to pay for your permit?
Before it was 22K.
17,000.
How much does a license cost if you get it from the city?
I think 400.
And who are you paying?
The permit owner.
You're not paying the city.
No.
You pay the permit owner $22,000 just so you can sell this food.
Yes.
And who is this?
A random guy.
Have you ever applied for a permit?
Yeah, I'm applied and no come anything.
It's long way. Number 3,800 something. And
After 2 years, you're number 3,800.
yes.
These are the 4 bills that are sitting in the city council right now, which would give these vendors their own permits and make your halal more affordable. But Eric Adams hasn't said a single word about them. If you own the permit, then how much would you charge for the plate?
$7.
$8.
$8.
Would you rather pay $10 for a plate of halal or $8?
$8.
$8.
I think $8 is the way to go.
If I was the mayor, I'd be working with city council from day one to make halal $8 again.
No, how would it taste?
Tastes like $10, but it should be 8.
All right. There's 2 things to analyze there that I think are very important to understand. First of all, lamb over rice, one of the best foods in New York City. And if anyone ever goes to New York, you got to get that. But here's the first thing. This is why that guy just won last night and why he's most likely going to be the next mayor of New York City. Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo, none of these guys are communicating and making videos the way that he's making. I mean, those are videos that can go viral. That video has 5 million views. And he posted it in January. So 5 months before the election, got a lot of people to discover who he is. Number 2, he's speaking in a way that is meaningful enough to catch the attention of Gen Z and millennials, right? He's talking about a subject that most people can relate to, halal food. He's interviewing people, good communication skills. You got music in the video. Like, that type of marketing just does not exist for a lot of the other candidates. And whether you agree with them politically or not, you can't disagree that type of communication is very strong. My kind of wild take, if you wanted to call it a wild take, is I think, I'll say it right here, I think AOC is going to be the Democratic nominee in 2028. I really do. I think if it's not her, maybe it's Newsom, maybe you get some other random corporate shill, but I think if you cut through the noise, and New York City last night just proved that there is the potential to cut through the noise with a candidate who is, I guess, going up against the mainstream establishment. This is what AOC's positioning would be like if they can effectively communicate. And as a result, I think there's a shot that she becomes the Democratic nominee based on effective communication. Number two, he's talking about libertarianism as a socialist. He's talking about deregulating the food carts. That's the funniest part of this video. The dude is talking about getting rid of all these stupid bills and permits that are stopping people from being able to get their cost of goods down, because the only way that consumers will pay less, $7 or $8 for the halal food, is if the vendors have to pay less for their supply chain, for their food, right? Because their margins already aren't as great to begin with. They are only charging you 10, not because they're price gouging, but because they don't have the margins to charge you 8 because of all these stupid regulations. So the dude is literally talking about deregulation, but his platform is, in his words, literal socialism. Again, this is not just the media saying he's a socialist. Like, no, he is there was a tweet where he responded to someone. The New York Times made an article about him. The title a couple years ago was "New York has a new progressive candidate that's taking over the city." He responded to them and said, "I'm not a progressive, I'm a socialist." So, like, just to put that out there, he is aggrandizing himself with that idea. But he's then advocating for something that is basically a basic business argument, which is, hey, let's deregulate. Let's lower the cost of burden financially and practically for a lot of small businesses so that they could have smaller and cheaper costs for consumers, maybe hire more employees, get job growth up, and then ultimately pay more tax revenue. So yes, this is one of the only good policies, at least that I've heard so far. I haven't gone that deep into his policies, but it's based on free market principles. Now, the reason I wanted to analyze that right here is because this is the paradox and conundrum that I think we saw last night happen in New York City. You're having a lot of people that, first of all, food that costs cheaper, that is appealing to everyone, right? So if you're Gen Z, millennial, you're struggling to get by, you get lunch every other day from the halal carts, of course you would like to pay a couple bucks less. And you see, this is the only guy in New York who has made a practical video that didn't take you 20 minutes to watch to understand why the costs are high. And then he's giving a promise that he's going to bring those costs down. Whether he's going to accomplish it or not, time is going to get to tell. But the point is, he's appealing to those people that want to see costs come down. He's using a libertarian argument to get there, but he's running as a socialist, and people can't really find the paradox or the inconsistency, the lack of congruence in the argument, and they end up voting for him simply because of the promise that prices are going to come down, even if the platform that he runs on is, again, inconsistent with the nature of that policy. I don't know if that is going to be what the majority of Americans appeal to going into 2028. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. But the point is, this is something we can't just undermine, right? Like, undermining this stuff and saying, oh, this is a New York City thing. Maybe it is. But I have a feeling that if things get as, unequal as they currently are, at least the perception of it currently is, then there is a shot this could definitely lead to more of a wide-scale belief in the country that we need to have more policies that are progressive. And by the way, I'm not the only person who thinks of this. Peter Thiel. This was an email he sent to Mark Zuckerberg and the board of Facebook when he was on the board back in January 5th, 2020. And here's what he said. I certainly would not suggest that our policy should be to embrace millennial attitudes unreflectively. I would be the last person to advocate for socialism. But when 70% of millennials say they are pro-socialist, we need to do better than simply dismiss them by saying they are stupid or entitled or brainwashed. We should try to understand why. And from the perspective of a broken generational compact, there seems to be a pretty straightforward answer to me, namely that when one has too much student debt, or if housing is too unaffordable, then one will have negative capital for a long time or find it very hard to start accumulating capital in the form of real estate or equity, crypto, whatever it means. And if one has no stake in the capitalist system, then one may well turn against it. I mean, pretty basic argument to me, right? If you do not have a stake in the capitalist system, all of us that are investing in equities, we have a stake in the upward mobility of these companies, these assets inside of capitalism. Therefore, we believe in the capitalist system. If you don't have that because you're saddled with debt and you don't have the financial literacy to even know that you can participate in owning assets, you're just going to turn against the system. And you're going to believe that everyone who has assets or everyone who got rich based on their wealth accumulation did it in an unethical way. And so I agree with Peter Thiel 1000%. Mamdani's video right there highlights why people voted for him. It also highlights the paradox of the argument he's trying to make, which is what you tend to get with a lot of these socialist type policies. But it also explains why people feel the wealth inequality and they're willing to vote for him regardless of that inconsistency, because A, people don't see that as a paradox, and B, they don't care if it is. They'd rather just vote for someone who is effectively communicating and promising to get prices down. I mean, Cuomo didn't promise to reduce the price of halal food. Eric Adams didn't do that, and when you can't do that, it's going to be hard to get people to be excited about what you're doing. So those are my thoughts on that. And I just think everyone has to keep that in the back of their head of like, this is, I think, what's going to be happening in, my hot take is I don't think we're going to have a corporate Democratic candidate. I don't. I think to beat someone like a JD Vance, who I do think is going to be a pretty effective candidate, you're going to have to go extreme, and you can't beat Gavin Newsom. Like, I just don't think you have a chance at that point. You're going to have to be an outsider or perceived as an outsider to get the country to care. And, if Trump has a decent 4 years, which so far economy is doing okay, we'll see what happens with the trade deals, foreign policy, et cetera. If it's pretty decent by the end of 2028, you're going to need someone who has a different narrative here to make the argument. So yeah, there we go. That's my analysis right there on that video. They leave luxury college dorms and think they deserve the lifestyle their parents had. Yeah, I mean, look, in general, I do think a lot of the people that, the other thing that was really annoying yesterday is, at least from my own personal opinion, you had a lot of celebrities that were campaigning with Mamdani, and they were like making all these Instagram videos and saying, hey, go vote for Mamdani. These celebrities, they are living in the best condos of New York City. They are making so much damn money. They don't relate to paying $8, $10. They could pay $800 for a plate of halal food. It wouldn't hurt them. And so to see them embrace someone like this, it really goes to show, like, a lot of them are in love with the idea of virtue signaling for whatever reason. And they have the attention of the people. They have the masses. They have the influence of people that follow them, right? If your favorite musician is saying, hey, go vote for this person, you start to feel influence from that. That's another thing that I think AOC is going to have on her side, just because she's like cool and hip and she can relate to the young generation, even if some of her policies may not make the most sense. And that's something I think in 2028, everyone definitely has to watch out for as well. Open borders and defund the police is not a great idea. Yeah, and I haven't heard Mamdani's latest thoughts on this idea of defunding the police, but if you go through his Twitter, I mean, if you just look at his hashtag defund the police, he was saying it a lot. I don't actually think he's going to defund the New York City police. If he does, I think, you could have whatever argument you want against the police, but New York City already has crime that is not really recovered from the pre-COVID levels. And so I don't know. I don't know if defunding the police or lowering police budgets would be the smartest idea. I posted a clip of Thiel talking about something similar. Let's see that clip right here from John. Oh, yeah, you do have this clip. Okay, so let's play this clip right here. This is Thiel talking about the potential rise of socialism.
He's really a socialist in the sense, I mean, there's no 5-year plan. He doesn't actually claim that he's going to make the post office or the DMV work better. If he was promising things like this, it would just be completely ridiculous. And the way in which socialism works is it's just this thing that's really different, and it's different, and it's meant in opposition to the zombie institutions in our society. And there is a problem that we have. We don't have a very well functioning capitalist society. There's a generational problem where it is difficult for young people to acquire capital. And I'd say there's sort of two. If I had to give sort of, and that's the young people that are supporting Bernie Sanders, and the sort of the two simple political things that one should really think about are the runaway student debt in colleges. It's $300 billion in student debt in 2000. It's up to $1.7 trillion today. And if you start your life in debt that can never be discharged in bankruptcy, it'll be much harder to accumulate capital, and you might be less friendly to capitalism. So that is a big problem. And
it's pretty logical, dude. If you're stuck in debt because our colleges gave people tons of money with no ability to get out of that debt, and now you're saddled in debt and you can't own any equities, and you didn't learn about owning equities throughout the 18 years, 22 years of education, I mean, you're probably going to hate anyone who owns stock or owns equities or has any level of financial freedom because they did it in a way that you either didn't know about or you felt the system structurally embarred you from getting access to, whether that's true or not. And you're going to turn to other policies like socialism.
I don't think we should socialize the student debt, but we should deal with it in a non-socialist way. We should internalize the costs onto the universities. We should redo the bankruptcy laws. Yes, you can discharge the student debt, and when you discharge it, it's the college that gave you a bad education that gets stuck with a bill. There's a sort of a non-socialist alternative, and then I think the other basic problem of a lack of capital or inequality is that it's very hard for people to get onto the housing ladder. The main way that the people in the middle class in this country accumulate capital is through owning real estate, through owning your house, and if through a series of urban zoning laws and bad planning and impossibility of building things, it has become impossible for people to get onto that. And if you could find ways for people to own more houses, you would have much less of these sort of millennial crazed socialism. So I think we should try to understand where it's coming from. We need to try to solve it.
And look, it's a really first principles way that Teal is talking about when it comes to understanding socialism. Shout out to Chad. Amit just joined. What did I miss? We were talking about why we think New York City ended up voting for Mamdani last night. And I think the answer is what Teal just said. He's thinking about it from a very logical perspective. You could say people are stupid for voting for socialist policies, but that doesn't get to the root of why structurally this guy got away with 52% of the vote. I mean, that's a overwhelming level of people that were like, you know what, screw this. We are going the other direction, especially in New York City, which is, again, one of the richest cities in the world. Got a lot of people that don't feel that rich in the city, and understanding the structural reasons, to an extent, government imposed reasons for why people feel that way. I think that's a better form of analysis. The question becomes, what can Mamdani do? Because I was doing a little bit of research today on like Eric Adams and some of the promises he made and if he was able to follow through on them. And this dude didn't really do that much that he said he was going to do on the campaign trail. And now granted, he's not even making the types of promises that Mamdani's making, but I don't know as the mayor, if he's going to be able to nationalize or essentially nationalize in their local region grocery stores, right? Like city-owned grocery stores. I don't know if you have the funds or how you even get the reallocation of funds to do that. He's talking about raising taxes. Assemblymen have the power to raise taxes, which he used to be an assemblyman. The mayor doesn't really have the power to just unilaterally raise taxes. You can't just get in office and say, we're going to raise taxes. And a lot of the raising the taxes is going to pay for the stuff that he cares about. So if he does win, I mean, we're going to have to see, how many of those promises can go into place. My gut reaction, I agree. I don't think he can do much that he's talking about. And this goes to the Republicans as well. Like Trump can't do all this stuff that he wants to do. He's had a lot of executive orders this year, but even his tariffs got blocked by the court for a little bit, right? Like it's hard to actually implement these things. And he's the president of the United States. So a lot of it is promises, and a lot of it is promises that is built on just the potential that people will vote for anything other than the status quo, which is what Trump won on as well, right? It was a rebuke of the status quo. But I think understanding why people are getting to this mindset is very important as well. So there you go. That's what we got. And again, bringing it back to investing, all of it comes down to, hey, how, in the next few years, we're going to have a midterm. I mean, in 1 year, we're going to have midterms, and that is going to definitely have an impact on stocks. Remember, midterm years are the worst years in the stock market. I hope 2026 is going to be the canary in the coal mine that goes the opposite direction, but I don't know. Midterms, 2018, 2020, 2022, these tend to just be crappy years. And so we're going to have to see if this one continues to be that. Micron, by the way, losing a lot of its momentum. Now it's up about 2%. I'll get some stats on what they said on the earnings call. Maybe some things could be triggering a little bit of sell-off. Also, it's after hours, low liquidity. But Micron right here up about 2%. We need the AI narrative to be so sophisticated and strong and earnings growth to be so good and obviously rates to come down for, I think, 2026 to continue this basically 3-year bull rally we've had. but historically, 2026 never does the best. So there you go. There you go. All right. I think that's it for me, guys. I will be back tomorrow. We have no podcast tonight. We will have a daily recap. Thursday, market open. We will get money market inflows tomorrow after the bell. Nike earnings. That's the only big one we have left. Robinhood up a little bit after hours. CoreWeave up 1.29%. Bitcoin 107. Nvidia, it was trying to get to 155. Could not stay there. 154.30. But we will be back tomorrow, and we'll keep going from there. Yeah, tomorrow's with Lemonade. 10:30 p.m. Eastern. I think there's like 3 people, a couple of them from Europe, that will be discussing Lemonade with me. The Hood Q&A already happened. It's on their YouTube channel. It's also on their X. Nothing too crazy, but I do encourage everyone to watch it, and I put some stats of it on Twitter. But good Q&A continues to believe that Robinhood's momentum is only going to keep compounding from here. And realistically, dude, it's just not slowing down. It looks like Q2, they have a shot to go for 35-40% growth. And if they do, then that's going to be great for Q2 as well. All right, cool. That's it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Love you all. Currently, right now, it is 5:41 p.m. Eastern, and that is it for the market close. I'll be back tomorrow. That was a fake currently right now, as you can tell. You can tell. I've actually had to stop myself a couple times from saying it because I knew I was about to say it naturally, and I had to be like, no, that's like, I can't say that. But every time I do get to say it intentionally, I'm going to try to say it. All right, that's it for me. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the market open. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.